Hello there guys, today we are looking at Jak'Sho. He's the highest ranked Katarina player on Redder, currently rank 9. He goes Bruiser, tank, on hit, on Katarina. And seems like he can tank through as much damage as he wishes, while also like wiping the enemy team in no time. So we can just see how insane this item combination is on Katarina. But let's just see how does he exactly get this fed. So laning phase starts out, and what's really important to point out, he wants to minimize the pokes that the Zed can get off by sidestepping as efficiently as possible, and he wants to mainly spare her HP for level 2, level 3 all-ins. Note that the Zed has actually First Strike and Ignite, so he will have less all-in power. He also prefers every single time to go D-Blade, actually never really D-Shield. Ignite, generic bomb plating overgrowth second, because he just understands how his champion works. Surely Katarina needs damage from her runes, which Conqueror already covers, but then she also needs some defensive stats because his champion is rather squishy. At level 2, it's really interesting what you do. So you just want to brute force actually all-ins. And you know, despite of the fact that yes, you can outplay Zed's WQ, even if Zed hits his WQs here, you still win that all-in. So even if you mess up the jump, you still win that all-in. You want to brute force? Yeah, as we saw the little detail, that's very important to notice. When she forces an all-in, just like that, guys, what's really important to watch out for, she didn't have her E, but she had her Q up. And the only way she resets her E by flashing, so she prefers to commit basic attack, and pick up the kill. And if you get such a quick flash play off already, your flash will be up actually quite quickly in the game to get kills past 6. But let's just see how does he perform past 6 into the Zed. Because, you know, despite there is a slight level advantage, Zed gonna hit 6 soon, and, you know, the matchup is not over yet. Zed is actually pretty strong at level 6, so ideally against champions that could actually just kill you once they hit level 6, you actually just want to disengage and fight them once their R is not up anymore. Just because, like, Zed just has too many ways of killing her. And think about it, even if you were to press your R, you would be stationary as Katarina, and he would hit all of his Qs, so he would just die. So against many ultimates that are too stat checky, you just want to disengage for now, then re-engage. Anyways, when does he roam as Katarina? So after shoving in the mid wave, as we can visually see, he does actually like sprint bot lane because they are even proxying and playing balls deep. And what he can actually do, punish the fact if they are still hovering against Karma, because they want to cut her down from reaching the lane, if it makes sense. He spots the Diana. Once Diana gives up her ultimate that would cancel her R, she does commit with her R, so remember, you have to get their CC abilities out first and then press your R, unless your R just like one taps them. And he picks up the heal, rotates back to mid lane, plain and simple. Another important skill I want to point out is jungle tracking, so she's actually pretty strong, so she can even solo invade this Diana. We did spot Diana walking from the bottom part of the river to her wolves. And again, we're gonna spot her yet again on mid side, which is like very important to point out because we can organize an invade on her wolves. And what's important to point out, with this blast cone, you'll actually be able to kill her in no time. Actually, we saw her dashing in. She full sends it and picks her up in no time. Actually, now that's crazy. What about side laning? When does he and why does he value side laning? So in here she can either solo dive or dive together, ideally with her Rek'Sai or Talia. So they actually have like really a lot of pressure on the side lane due to these 3 champions that they have. And these are the questions that want you to like ask yourself. Do you just want to sit mid lane, or do you want to join the side lane and dive your opponent and put more pressure on the map this way, if it makes sense? So you don't want to just ARAM for no reason. You want to push out those side lanes, split them up a little bit, and then Talia and Rek'Sai can really easily look for picks. This is Katarina on 3 item spike, so she got her Terminus, Boar, Kraken. These are really OP items in one combination. Her R just wipes at this point. And what I really want to point out is that, again, despite of you having your R up, just notice the patience. Quite often she waits for every single CC ability to be out, and then he wants to press his R. But if it's unnecessary, he's not even pressing his R actually, because he could spare it for something better, such as this Jhin and Bard fight. So in some case scenario, if your opponents would be already dead, he would highly prefer to spare his abilities for the next target actually. And you see, after particularly getting the soul, you can just pretty much like brute force all-ins and At this point, the game is over. GG well played, but this is not all. This guy actually even plays AD carry Katarina. So let's review that really quick as well. As you can see, the game's over. GG, well played. Now let's check out his AD carry Katarina gameplay. This is how he plays out AD carry Katarina. Now, I would definitely highly recommend you guys to not actually try to walk up and take push priority and face check and all that, because as Katarina you hard actually lose level 1. Sadly, her Nami does actually try to brute force a all in, which sadly doesn't works. Early on, same logic as on mid lane. As much as possible, he just wants to soak XP. In fact, he doesn't even want to Q the minions, because that way he could lose a bunch amount of HP to the point where she would not be able to all in them. Ideally, I would say past level 3. So until then, you actually just have to soak XP, last it very minimally. As you can see, even here you got the position super well actually, in the sense that you avoid their pokes as much as possible, minimize HP damage, and only look for engages, you know, once you got a clear opportunity. For example, Lulu having her QE ideally on cooldown, that would lead you into a nice all-in, or if Nami hits a bubble, that's even better. That's even better. After some farming and getting level 3, he can actually brute force all-ins more easily, but first of all he prefers to set up vision and then force. Lulu is trying too hard to hold the wave. Her heal actually gets forced out. Unfortunately, they didn't manage to pick up the kill. And, you know, that's totally fine. They're gonna do their best to weave in the wave, because you don't want to leave the wave frozen actually before you recall. And that's it. You just get the whole wave in. Now, what's really important to point out is that if you cannot brute force these minions in, that's also totally fine, because at this point, check how much gold do you have. You don't have money yet for a curve bow, which is a bit unfortunate, but at this point he does actually have to recall, so he does take a B, and let's just move on. Recurve bow is your ideal recall actually, but if you don't get to do that, you could also go longsword into dagger. Now, you gotta look for weakness windows currently. So, even if Lulu has for polymorph, that's not the scariest ability early on. You want at least her Q or E to be on cooldown, so they don't have a way of outspacing, distancing himself out from Katarina. And you still have to wait for opportunities for Nami to hit a bubble. That would be the most ideal thing. But if Lulu has cooldowns, that's also totally fine. Seems like Zeri gave up her E. Notably, Lulu also gave up her Q and E. And as much as you guys can see, this guy can just force all-ins at this point. Galio is also collapsing. And in particular, they just don't have a way of playing into Katarina currently. He weaves in the wave and just takes a massive advantage. This is how you actually dive as Katarina once your opponent is quite low on HP. So first of all, you have to actually do your best to wait a little bit for Nami to take the aggro. And once Nami takes the aggro, you can smoothly dive her and disengage with your E. So ideally, your support has to take the aggro, so it's not a 1-for-1. Now what's interesting is that this guy highly prefers to play for the blade. So despite of getting ganked by Nico earlier, just because Lulu isn't on the dagger, he gets to pick it up. Most nem. And check out what they do. So they aim to actually cancel her recall, and she does actually punish the fact that she's actually stepping up. So she's actually one of the best champions, and ironically at doing so. Picks up the Lulu kill, picks up the... I would say he will actually soon pick up the Zeri kill as well if she does the same thing. Let's see. This is 2k challenger, by the way. There's no way they... I don't know, I guess one time it happened, 2 times it's not an accident anymore. Okay. But so how do roams actually work on Katarina ADC? Because your level 6 is, you know, notably delayed, and you have to choose in between the wave or a fight. Quite often he actually prefers to go for some consistent fights here. So he's stepping up and he's looking to utilize his flash, I assume. He just engages, picks up the Zeri. Oh my god, his mechanics are just insane. And that's how you just get a clean triple kill without even dying. Well played, extremely well played on their part. And you know, in terms of side laning, you don't really side lane that much. You ideally want to stick with your support, because you already have 2 champions in your team that have TP, and they're able to join fights that way. So she actually prefers to be mid lane, and from mid side you can actually roam towards any directions that you wish. Now that's it for now, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. See y'all in the next one.